Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States of America, in addition to many other Western nations, is in big trouble. People can barely afford to eat, and now they're realizing that the American dream is nowhere to be found. At the same time that the prices of food have gone up hundreds of percents, Americans are now looking to pay on average $3,322 per month on a mortgage. If you stay through the second half of this video, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break down for you how beneficial it has been for people that started preserving their wealth in gold all the way back when this system here, this financial system, used to be of sound money and not fiat currency. But first, let's cover this. This is very troubling. Why? Because everyone needs to eat. Grocery items in the first Home Alone, remember that movie, that Home Alone? Macaulay Culkin, I think was the kid's name. They are now 264% higher after taxes, despite Biden's strong economy claims. I personally think they're a lot higher than 264%, but they're probably using the government's numbers, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll go ahead and go along with that. And again, please stay through the second half of this video where I'm going to show you that if you were putting away your excess wealth in gold and even silver, that you wouldn't have to worry about this increase in the prices of food or anything else, because your wealth that you'd put away is exactly that, wealth, real money that will keep up with inflation as the government spends like a drunken sailor. Here they say that the prices of grocery items featured in the first Home Alone movie, which hit theaters back in 1990, have increased since then. Obviously, right, ladies and gentlemen? The young McAllister have bought milk, and they're talking about the character on that movie, have bought milk, bread, toilet paper, laundry detergent, fabric softener, cling wrap, macaroni and cheese, a turkey TV dinner, orange juice, and a bag of plastic toy soldiers for a grand total of $19.83. News Nation's Nick Smith recently ran an experiment by buying the same items that Coughlin's character purchased at a Chicago grocery store called Happy Foods, where he paid a total, ladies and gentlemen, of $72.28 after taxes, which is 264% higher than the price during the holiday season 33 years ago. Now in 2022, just about a year and a half ago or so, TikToker user Rochelle Chalmers, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, also purchased the same items. Now remember, this is back in 2022, at a retail giant Kroger, shelling out $44.40 in total. So just from 2022, those same items went from $44 all the way up to $72, ladies and gentlemen. But that's not all. Not only are Americans being priced out of food. Remember me saying those words years ago? That Americans will be priced out of food, that there will be a food crisis, a food shortage crisis, not necessarily because of scarcity, but because people just wouldn't be able to afford it. Well, now there's something else that the average American will not be able to afford, at least not this generation. I believe that the system is to blame first and foremost. Why? Because if there wasn't corruption within the system, then neither party would be able to take advantage of it. But since there is corruption within the system itself, then parties that are at the head of the table get to take advantage of it as much as they want, pretty much without our say-so. The average monthly mortgage payment, ladies and gentlemen, as I stated previously, has risen to $3,322. And that is a heck of a change, because you know what that is? That's like almost $40,000 a year. And I believe that there's a lot of Americans, a lot. I would say that probably half or less of Americans that work a single paycheck make less than 40 grand a year. Here they say that home ownership has become a pipe dream for more Americans, even those that could afford to buy just a few years ago. That's what happens when interest payments and the demand for something go up at the same time. Now that they are high, many people are just giving up. And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when the interest rates for mortgages and the demand for houses go up at the same time. They're going to become very unaffordable. And now that those payments are high, many people are just giving up. Remember when they started saying this a few years back, that you will own nothing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you will not own a home. And pretty soon, I would bet that most people who don't already own a vehicle will be able to afford a vehicle either, when they can't even afford to put food on the table. It's a snake eating its own tail. That's what inflation is, ladies and gentlemen. A snake eating its own tail. And eventually, it will get all the way back around to its head. And that's when the system is going to collapse. So prepare for that day, because it will come. And they say here that it is now less affordable than any time in recent history to buy a home. And the math isn't changing anytime soon. The Federal Reserve, which started raising interest rates aggressively early last year to curb inflation, hasn't shown much interest in cutting them. And cutting them is not going to do any good. They are in a catch-22 where it doesn't matter which way they go. We are still, for a lack of better word, screwed. Mortgage rates slipped to about 7% last week, the lowest in several months, but they are still more than double what they were just a couple of years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Like they said in the beginning, owning a home nowadays is kind of a pipe dream. I saw a video, I think it was by Jeremiah Bebe, where he was in Texas, and now they're building tiny homes for you to mortgage. So now you can get into a less than 1,000 square foot home that literally look like little skinny houses lined up next to each other for, I don't know, I think they said like $1,600 a month. Amazing. Here they continue saying that what happens to the housing market when a president throws open our southern border to millions and millions of illegal aliens who need a place to live. Not too many people think about that, right? Ask New York, ask Chicago. Could it be that when you have a finite amount of something people want and then flood the country with millions of people who want it as well? Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. The cost of that something will go up, and that right now is housing. And he continues to say that the second factor is that Democrats hate single-family homes. And why is that? They use climate change to justify blocking the construction of new homes. They want us all to be packed in cities in massive government housing complexes. And by the way, all right, he says they make no secret of this. And let me show you really quick, because I've covered this several times before. It is called the 15-minute city, where you will be crammed into a little tin box, and hopefully you'll have your CBDCs so that you can use them to buy your cricket burgers, ladies and gentlemen. And he says something that I believe wholeheartedly. The final factor is this. This is all by design. This was planned, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that they did from year to year. This has been planned for decades. All you have to do is just follow the paper trail. Okay, it says here that lunatic government spending creates lunatic inflation, and that inflation destroys purchasing power and creates high interest rates that make it impossible for the middle class to purchase a home. Does this make sense? Democrats also know that when you flood a country already dealing with a housing crisis caused by environmental lies with millions of illegals, housing costs will explode. And that is true as well. I mean, I don't have to tell you that's true. Just look around and see what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm going to lose a lot of people over this, but it is what it is. The truth is the truth, right? The mantra is, you'll own nothing and be happy. I don't think you'll be happy. This also means you will never accrue wealth, because the middle and working class can only accrue wealth through home ownership. Why? Because a house is an asset, ladies and gentlemen, and it goes up when inflation goes up. And he finishes off by saying, by design, the Democratic Party and their pals in multinational corporations make out like bandits in a non-ownership society. You are dependent on the government, and until the day you die, you are eternally making monthly payments for your home. So, ladies and gentlemen, wake up. Government is nothing but force. And as soon as we all wake up, and understand this, that there's really only two sides, the side of good and the side of evil, and that we the people have been taken advantage of by the side of evil. As soon as we realize this and we understand that we hold the power, it is we the people that hold the power, the better off that not only will we be, but that our children and our children's children will be. We have been bamboozled, we have been faked, call it whatever you want to call it, right? This system has abused the people of this country so that they can enrich themselves at our expense and the expense of our children, and not only that, but at the lives of our children that they send to wars in order to further enrich themselves more so than what they already are. And we're talking about people that are really monetarily rich, that really have all of the money that they would need to live a comfortable life, but they want more. It's a disease. So wake up and realize that we are not each other's enemies, but that there is only one common enemy among us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little bit of fun. I love geeking out on gold prices. So what we're going to do is we're going to check out a few gold prices throughout its history. I'm going to leave you a link to this chart that tells you the gold price by year all the way back to like the 1860 or something like that. Pretty nice little chart to have if you can geek out on this stuff like I can. So we're only going to check a few years just so that I can make my point that gold preserves your purchasing power over time. It's not something that I'm going to buy today because I'm saving up to buy something in 6 months, but it's something that I'm going to put my excess wealth. I'm not a financial advisor, do your own research, all right? But this is what I like to do with my excess wealth, meaning that I'm already prepped. I have all the preps that I think I need. I'm still adding on to my preps whenever I need to fill in my gaps, but now I can start saving for my golden years. Hopefully they'll get there one day, right? So we're going to check first. The first year we're going to check is 1971, right here. And why is that? Because that's when we were taken off the gold standard, right? And we're going to see how much the dollar has depreciated in purchasing power against gold. We're also going to check 1975. Why is that? Because even though gold was only $40 an ounce back in 1971, we, the freest nation in the world, were not allowed to own it. Thank you, Mr. FDR. But we were allowed to own it starting on January 1st of 1975. And then the other date we're going to check is the date that they mentioned on the article that we went over, where Macaulay Culkin, I believe this is the kid's name, went ahead and purchased some of that food in Home Alone, and was in 1990. Okay, and maybe we'll do a couple more dates just for the fun of it, but we're going to do those 3 dates for sure. Let me get my handy dandy calculator so that we can see if gold has done what it's supposed to do over time, and that is retain its purchasing power. So back in 71, gold was, we're just going to keep it easy, $40 an ounce. It was $40.62, but $40 an ounce. So today, gold is about 1980. So we take 1980 minus 40, right? And that's 1940. So we're going to go ahead and take 40 and divide it by 1940. And that's going to equal 2%. Okay, if you take this and multiply it by 100, that's 2%. What does that mean? That means that the dollar since 1971, when gold was $40 an ounce, has depreciated against gold by 98%. The dollar only retained 2% of its purchasing power all the way back from 1971, ladies and gentlemen. That is what a scam a fiat currency is. It's a Ponzi scheme that is used to steal your wealth without you really knowing that it's being stolen. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you still had to pay taxes for all that time, right? Not only are they stealing your wealth via inflation, right, but they're also taking taxes away from you. So think about how much of your life you're actually giving to Uncle Sam. Let's go ahead and do the next one, which is 75. In 75, gold was $160 an ounce. So if we take 1980 minus 160, it equals 1820. So we'll take 160 divided by 1820, and we'll multiply this times 100. So since 1975, the first year that we were allowed to own gold again, the dollar has depreciated against gold by roughly 91% or 91.21%, ladies and gentlemen. Are you starting to understand now that gold preserves your purchasing power? Let's go all the way down to 1990. Where are we at? In 1990, gold was $383 an ounce. And you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that gold goes up and down. When the value of the dollar goes down, gold usually goes up, and vice versa. They're inverse of each other. Usually, they're inverse of each other. So even though you may see that gold was higher one year or lower in the other year, what I like to do in order to combat that is just dollar cost average. The first week of every month, I go in there and I take whatever I budgeted for retirement savings, in my case, for that month, and I put it into gold or silver, usually silver, which is usually about as good as gold in retaining your wealth or your purchasing power over time. So anyways, let's take 1980. Let's subtract 383. So we're going to take 1597, 383, and divide it by 1597, and then multiply that times 100. So since 1990, the dollar has depreciated against gold by what? By 76%, ladies and gentlemen. It has depreciated by 76%. But let's go ahead and use numbers that will give us a better measure as to how much gold has gone up since that time, because we know that the food that they purchased in that movie back in 1990 had gone up by 2.64 times, 264%. So if we go ahead and we take 1980 and we divide it by $383, the price of gold in 1990, it gives us 5.16, meaning that gold has gone up nominally by 516% since 1990. And if you remember, the food from 1990 that they purchased in that movie had gone up by 264%. Again, gold did its job in this instance as well, as far as keeping its purchasing power. Okay, now let's just go and do one for fun. Let's go all the way. I think I can look over here. Let's see. If we go up here, there it is. There it is. If we go up here, we can actually take a look at one. Let's pick the most recent one, which is 2016 that they have here. In 2016, gold was $1,250. So right now it's 1980 minus 1250. So if we take 730 and we divide it by 1250, if you had been purchasing gold and putting it to the side since 2016, right now gold would have given you a return as far as nominal value goes of 58%. That probably would have kept up with inflation, ladies and gentlemen, since 2016. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. You can do whatever you want to do. But what I'm trying to show you is this. It's what they don't show you in school. The government does not want you to know that gold and silver are real money. The government doesn't want you to know that through inflation, they steal your wealth. What is your wealth, ladies and gentlemen? It's your hours that you spend gaining that wealth. What are your hours, ladies and gentlemen? It's your freedom, your time. If your time wasn't your freedom, then why does everybody want to retire early? Your freedom is your time, ladies and gentlemen, and that is what is being stolen from you. You know why? How many people at Walmart that are like 60, 70, 80 years old do you see working as greeters? Do you think they're doing it because they like it? No, they're doing it because they have to. And now they're having to give up even more of their time and their freedom just to keep their heads above water. And the government, ladies and gentlemen, although I know they will never do this, should be ashamed of themselves for putting us in this predicament. Things will change in the future. However, things are going to get a little bit more difficult before they get better. So get prepared and stay prepared, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got something out of this. Please teach your children of what real money is. Teach them what the schools won't teach them. Having said that, have a great day. I'm putting up another video today, which is going to be the dissected live stream of Grayman and myself during yesterday's live stream. That way you don't have to go through all of the dead space. I'll try to consolidate it down to a digestible video. Having said that, have a great day. Merry Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Hanukkah. I think today is the last day of Hanukkah, either today or tomorrow. So happy Hanukkah to those of you that celebrate it. God bless you all. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.